Chris, and this is my doing the roof video. Okay, so I got one more quarter panel in the freaking roof, all right here to do left. So the roof, we have these places that are the roof panel and then the quarter panel that are tacked together, and then they're leaded. So when I was sandblasting the car, I kind of cleaned it off, and seems like somebody went back, you know, before I got that car and did that real neat, because it just looks like somebody went back and re-leaded it. Or I've just never seen one that perfect before. But you gotta clean that up and look at it. Another thing is, when you're doing your roof, you want to do your roof rails first. Get all that done, because now we're gonna go back and we're gonna clean all this up while we do our body work, and we're gonna prime over that. Okay, I have a video on here showing you how I did the roof rails. So the first thing you want to do is get your trim. Don't ever be an idiot and take trim off where you bend it like this dude that ruined that piece. We're just checking right there. It looks fine. Very important that you check this before you start doing your body work. Okay, so this does not fit in there perfect. So if you leave it like that, you're gonna have gaps and it's gonna look all screwed up. So we're gonna have to grind that out with a Dremel. Now these cars, they usually have pitting right here. Anywhere where there's pitting, I sandblasted the crap out of it, inside the holes and everything. Well, that's usually how you're gonna get the pitting exposed like that, because it didn't even look like it had any pitting. So the fact that we sandblasted the inside real good, I'm just gonna put polyester putty. You can put kitty hair, whatever. You can weld that up if you want to, but you start welding that up, you're gonna burn holes in it, and you're gonna screw everything up. So we sandblasted this and put in epoxy primer about 6-7 months ago. Just because it was put in epoxy primer doesn't mean that it's ready to go. It can still have like little places that we missed. So we're gonna go back over, we're gonna 80, 180, whatever we gotta do to scuff the complete crap out of this top. And we're going back looking for any kind of weird little imperfections that we missed, and we're gonna sand them out with a power tool. Okay, the other one. Okay, you get the point. I do that in all my videos because it's so important that you get all that little crap out. See, we got more right there, because you don't know what it is. It could be rust, it could be a chemical reaction, it could be, I don't know. Just get them all out. Okay, so it took me like 3 hours to get it ready. All the places we ground off, very important that you do that. Seam sealer's cleaned up. We got all in that channel right there, and clean that seam sealer off. Bodywork's done right there. We ground that little edge off. Everything's been sanded thoroughly with 80, 180, and then went completely over with Scotch-Brite in case I touched it. Everything is scuffed and abraded, ready for the primer. We're gonna do the identification process. You see what happened. We ran into this whole freaking thing had rust on it. Okay, so we need to get 2 coats of good primer on there, because we're gonna do our identification process to find out where the dents are. We got a black primer as a guide coat. Now when we sand this for the first time, we're doing our identification process. We're trying to find out what dents we have on this thing to start with. You need to use the longest and hardest block that you have. Not wood, a block like this. Identification process. Let's see what this roof looks like. You're not putting any pressure, you're letting the paper do the work. Letting the block and the paper do the work. Block it out first like this, see where the low places are, and then run your hand over that low place and find out, is that something you need to fill or something that we can just keep priming and trying to knock it out with primer. There's nothing telling me that we need to put filler on this yet. We got low places everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and finish the other side, and we'll see an area that we do need to apply filler to. Now these kind of dents right here, we are going to go ahead and float. This, a lot of times you can screw that up more, trying to knock that flat and do even more damage to it. I'd rather fill it, and then if it's still high, then tap it down. Found that to work a lot better than start banging on your roof. Your roof is, man, it's very, very sensitive. Anything you do, we start beating on this, can have consequences. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and grind the guide coat out of both of these. You want to float these real big, and we're going to go ahead and float all these little stupid bumps in this. Always grind the guide coat out. Okay, you always want to get in the habit of getting the guide coat out in case you accidentally use some like cheap crap paint. I just use a black lacquer primer. It doesn't react to my primers, but just it's always good to get in that habit. That way you also mark where you're going to fill. Alright, so we have only filled these two, and there was a few dents right here. So the last thing you want to do is have to float the top of this car. So it's a lot better to put a bunch of primer on there and then see what you have, so you're only filling very thin freaking areas opposed to trying to float that whole thing. We got low, low, high. Let's go ahead and get an idea how we block these out. You always want to block this bigger than the dent. We got fresh 80, 3 blocks. We're going to cut it down, going across it. This is polyester. You want to put polyester over this if you have to, instead of using Bondo polyester putty. Alright, we got 2 high spots. That's not the lead, that's actually the steel. Yeah, this is a pretty hard area to get straight because it's literally 2 different panels joining each other. So we got low there. Alright, so I went ahead and put some more filler right there. That was bothering me. Let's go ahead and finish sanding these out. We're not trying to knock it flat, we're trying to knock it down in a curve. So putting pressure on this end and then this end a little bit and trying to leave the center high, and then we go over it. And you want to stop. We're going to leave it like that. We're going to get primer on it. Let's go ahead and do these. You let the paper do the work. You don't put pressure on it. We do have metal on areas coming through here, but this is the complex area. We got that done the best. I can already feel high spots right there. We're gonna have to go back and fill this, but let's go ahead and get some primer and let's see how our dents are coming out back here. Okay, so before you prime, it's always good to hit it with a soft block with 180 to kind of knock it down even. So I just got my iPhone 7 Plus, and from now on I'm going to be filming on it. So let's see if the video looks different. I finally got off my butt and I finally bought me some black primer that is the same primer as my surfacer, my gray surfacer that I'm using. I've been using a rattle can lacquer black primer for the guide coat, but now this is ideally what you want to do, is to get you a black primer and a gray primer. And we're using a guide coat with the black primer, so that way we don't have to grind it out. We can just fill right over the black, the low places. So let's check that out. Okay, so we're all on the same page. It has 1 pass of polyester, block down with 80, smooth with 180, 3 to 4 coats of heavy primer. We got a black primer guide coat on it. You still do not want to be using a soft block. We're using a hard block with 180, and we're trying to find out where our low places are that we're going to have to go back and fill. Hopefully there's none, but areas like this, very likely. And we're also going to go, hopefully we got all of them out, but let's check it out. It's nearly perfect. We're still going to go back and grind these out, like the little pits. and crap like that. But it's real weird how bodywork is. That if you have an idea of what you're doing, this is one pass of polyester, and you can already see that that is perfect, man, except for the little low places. Now let's go ahead and check this one out. Small low places everywhere. Our dent was like right here. Those little dents are right here. They're pretty much gone. I really want to explain to you how this needs to go down. You do not want to float panels unless you have to. The last freaking resort. My trunk video is a perfect example of that. That trunk was freaking screwed up. Last resort, I had to float the whole thing. Now we got high, low, high, low. We're gonna keep trying to put primer on this until we start ending up where those look like that or that, and then it's okay to just lightly skim that, opposed to somebody would look at that and say, oh well, it needs to be completely floated right here. Bullshit. No, don't do that. You're gonna screw everything up. You do that only if we prime the crap out of this and then we can't get it out, and then it's okay to float an area. But we're gonna see what happens at the end, but I bet you whatever you want that we're gonna end up getting this pretty freaking close, where we just have to go back and maybe fill something like that. See, you get the point? You'd rather fill something like that than to be trying to float something like that, because you don't know where you are. Just trying to give you some pointers on doing a roof of a car. Okay, so kind of what we're doing here is we're getting a starting point right here. This is the hardest part we got to fix, and right here. And we're going to do both sides like that, but making sure that this is perfect first, and then we're going to be able to float that top end to both sides no matter what. Does that make sense to do it? Get a starting point here instead of trying to start there, and we're going to work our way to blend the middle into both sides. The other side, not as bad. It's weird because there'll be two completely different situations. This one I'm having issues right here. That one I was having issues with this, and trying to blend it into the quarter we already done. All right, so we got it all in 3 coats of primer. This is a 4th light coat of black primer that we're going to be using as a really good guide coat to figure out what's going on this top. All right, got fresh 180 on a 24-inch block. So anyway, that's what we got with the first block, the longest one, the 24-inch. We're gonna keep blocking it down until we start seeing the high spots come through. So you always want to do that, everything, block it down till the high spots come through. And I really like using this black primer now as a guide coat. All right, so we got it all sanded down. The low spots aren't gonna be a big deal, but we got this weird situation down the middle of it with all these little high spots. See the green? You can barely see it. The only weird place that I can feel, they don't really feel too high. This is the only place that feels like it needs to be filled so far. The rest of these just kind of feel like they need to be tapped in. But we're not gonna do that. Roof looks pretty good right there. There's nothing really wrong with it. On the other side is real good. It's just down the middle. You don't want to start knocking dents down, okay? Because we were sanding in all directions. What we want to do here, put 3 more coats of primer with a guide coat, and we're going to block lengthwise because we have an issue right here. We need to see exactly what's going on. So let's go ahead and do that before we start knocking stuff down and try to get a better picture of what's going on in this area and how we're going to fix it. Okay, so I got in 3 more coats of primer and another guide coat on it. Okay, so now we got to work the center right here where we started finding the high spots down the middle. So we're gonna block them like this now, trying to find them, see what we have to repair. Fresh 80, blocking real slow. Okay, so this is the second attempt to block it out. You can already see we're making huge progress. We're not gonna have to fill anything so far. We're gonna go ahead and roll the dice because I can still feel the low spot in here, but it's not like a dent low spot. You can see how it's all blocking out. Go ahead and leave it like that because that's how it came from the factory. There's no need to fill a low place that's blocking out like that. That's why I was telling you about running your hand. Just because you run your hand and you feel a low place doesn't necessarily mean you need to fill it. Okay, so I have the whole roof sanded down, and God is my witness, I have not put one bit of filler anywhere on the top of this roof yet. See, while we were sanding it down, you always want to barely, when you start seeing them, but basically that's telling me that the high spot is just evened off perfect. And that's what I was trying to tell you, to block it out the best you can like this. And if we still have a problem area, then we go back with our fillers. All this right here feels perfect. Okay, so that's the whole point I'm trying to make in this video, to be patient before you start throwing fillers on there. Okay, so this is our third attempt with 3 coats of primer. Last time we reduced it about 5% more. This time we're gonna do it about 10% more. And if that one doesn't come out this time, then we're gonna put a little bit of filler on there and fix it. But it should come out. So this is the third attempt to block it out. I try to cut the top off, the guide coat off. We don't have any low places. Then we can go on to our final sanding. You always start in the problem areas. Okay, so everything is blocking out exactly like we want it. I don't even remember where our little low place was, but I'm going to continue to block it out until it all looks like that. I'll probably end up having to put some more primer on it. Okay, so this project's already taken about 12 hours just for the roof. I need to go ahead and get some sealer on it. We can work the little stuff out once we get the sealer on it, but we need to see if we need to see how the top's going to look and let us know we can go on to the last quarter panel. So I dry blocked it with 320, the whole thing, and then soft blocked it with 400 dry, real good, and then wax and grease removed it. Well, anyway, I got it done. I didn't spray it too good. That stuff just dries too fast. It has a medium reducer, but it's still like 90 degrees here in Houston, Texas. And I'm gonna throw that piece of shit spray gun in the trash anyway because I gotta paint this thing. But even though it didn't come out perfect, like the spray, you can still see that the bodywork came out perfect. And that's pretty much all you're gonna do. Just run the light down like that. This was our problem area right there. Follow the little light right here. Okay. Just for people that don't know that. These parts, I already knew these were gonna come out perfect. Anyway, the roof was the hardest part of this car so far. It took me about 15 hours to do it. Shortly after this, I'm going to have a video on what I do after the sealer. I'm going to show you how I sand these panels down and get them even more perfect and get them ready to paint. That's about it for this video. The roof came out perfect. I'm real happy. I was real worried about doing it. All I got left is this quarter panel and the car will be ready for paint. If you liked the video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.